Hello, everybody, and welcome to the 8th episode of the Flying Otters podcast. I'm comedian Jimmy McCartney, and along with me, as always, is my wonderful, dearest wife, Kirsten Pacelli, concert photographer, videographer, and the tech person behind the Flying Otters podcast. Today is a very special episode. We're going to do something a little different, and that is we are only going to talk about one subject and one subject alone, and that is the horrible, disgusting, awful assassination of Charlie Kirk. So, Kirsten, would you like to get us started with your thoughts on both what happened and the implications of it?
I would like for you to get us started.
Okay. Basically, in my opinion, this is unbelievably disgusting. And the thing that I think is the most important thing to be said before anything else, the people who are out there celebrating his death, you are wrong. You're wrong, and it is disgusting. It is slimy. It is gross. It is vile. In every single capacity, in every single way I could possibly think of saying it, it is disgusting. I think that's the first thing I want to say. I can understand people hating Charlie's viewpoints. That's fine. You can hate the things that he said. You can hate the positions he held. And I will support you in hating that as long as that's all it is your thoughts and your feelings and your words. But there is a big difference between supporting someone in having beliefs that they didn't enjoy someone who was assassinated versus getting happy and elated and celebrating it publicly on social media, in the streets, that he is dead. You are disgusting. You are filth, in my opinion. I can't think of many things to describe a person that is not connected to being just as low as it gets when it comes to this. And here's the reason why. Beyond the fact that you should never think it's a solution to just kill someone you disagree with, right? That's just a basic thing. From your own perspective, the people who are happy and excited about Charlie Kirk being assassinated, from your perspective, this is not good. It's horrible. Why? Because do you really think that this type of thing remains an isolated incident? Do you really think that there aren't going to be ripple effects that come back in the direction of the political ideology you identify with? Do you really think that there isn't going to be other crazy people out there who said, well, you know, you crossed the point of no return, so here we go. It's time for you to get yours. And here's the craziest part. The very people who you are happy that their side of the camp just lost one of their most prolific speakers are the very same people who you were upset own lots and lots of guns. And it's just a stupid, stupid thing to think that there isn't another crazy person out there who wants to do something stupid and awful as well. And here's the worst part. When that happens, which I hope to God it doesn't, where does it keep spiraling and spiraling? I really hope that it doesn't. I love this country. I even love the ability for people who I disagree with to be here. I wouldn't want anything to become a violent situation where people are killing each other in the streets or deciding that there's lines in the sand where you can't even communicate, can't live in the same state. There are a lot of different ways this can go, and I don't want to be hyperbolic about it because maybe it doesn't. But it is very possible that this spirals and escalates into something way worse. And I hope that doesn't happen. But the reason that it could is not just because Charlie was assassinated, which is disgusting. It could happen because there are so many people celebrating his death. And in my opinion, that is as low as it gets. That is as disgusting as it gets. And it is unbelievable to think that you can just be happy about this and then the world moves on. And like, oh, I'm glad Charlie's gone and now we can just move on. No, that's not likely the way that it goes. And I want those people to seriously think about, like, the people who hate Charlie Kirk, right? They probably have the exact opposite viewpoints as him. How would you feel if one of your political leaders, one of your most prolific speakers and minds was assassinated by a right-wing person? How would you feel about that? And then not only that, there were right-wingers celebrating it in the streets and celebrating it on social media. How would that make you feel? And if you know that it wouldn't be okay for that to be done to one of your leaders, how on earth could you possibly be excited it happens to the opposite side? That's what I would like to start with, is by saying that.
I think politics aside, even, it's just crazy to celebrate someone who has done nothing actually wrong to people. He's never condoned violence. He's never tried to make violence a thing. Why celebrate the fact that he is dead and can no longer speak and be with his family? Why celebrate it? I just don't understand. I mean, politics aside, he's just another guy doing his thing. There are a million people on the left who go out and protest and speak their mind all the time. Would it be right for anybody to celebrate any of those people that are protesting just being shot? No. So I think the whole thing is just wild. And when the Democrats didn't get silent when the judge was asking for silence in the courtroom or whatever it was.
It was the Speaker of the House. It was the House. These aren't just regular people. That was in the House of Representatives of Congress, not even in a state, like the federal government. And I don't know if it was the Speaker himself or one of his representatives, but they were calling for a moment of silence and a prayer to honor Charlie Kirk. And multiple Democrats in the House were screaming and making noise, refusing to just allow that to happen.
Screaming no.
Yeah. Yeah. Those are representatives that represent this country. And I get it. You can view Charlie Kirk, the things he said, his beliefs are gross. Maybe you're not a fan of him. Maybe you're not thrilled about him getting a moment of silence. But what is the purpose in screaming no like that? Like, there's no way on earth that if, like, I was a left wing or right wing, whatever, politician, even if someone on the opposite of the side of the aisle was assassinated, there's no way that I would scream to try to prevent a moment of silence. There's just no way.
And the other big thing is that has been crazy to me to see is just the people who are saying, well, what about the school shootings? Just because you've not been celebrating Charlie Kirk's death does not mean that you don't care about the school shootings happening. Doesn't mean that just because you feel a certain way about Charlie Kirk that you do not feel a certain way about school shootings or other people dying.
Yeah. Yeah. So the people who are celebrating Charlie Kirk's death, one of their arguments that they're making is Charlie didn't want to take away the Second Amendment. Charlie believed that, this is what they're saying, that Charlie believed, and when I say they, I'm not talking about everyone, it's just these are the comments that I've read today.
Because of the one quote that he said about that some people are going to lose their lives, but it's a sacrifice to be able to keep the Second Amendment.
More or less, they believe that because Charlie said that, you know, as a Second Amendment, we have to have it, right? You can't take that away. Their argument is, well, there were all these school shootings and you thought it was acceptable to keep the Second Amendment knowing that those school shootings happened. So therefore, you got killed by a gun. You deserve it, basically. That's like the gist of what I've seen multiple times from individuals, not like a collective statement from progressive groups, but individuals have been saying that. You wanted the Second Amendment? Well, guess what? You got it. That kind of a thing. It's disgusting. It is disgusting.
And is that what the Second Amendment was really for? Killing people who have opposing views?
Of course not.
So
here's the thing, folks. I want to be very, very clear about something that I haven't said directly publicly before. It's very obvious that I am not an extreme left-wing person, but I want to be very clear about where I stand on most things, which I haven't done because I didn't think it was necessary. Kirsten and I don't want to speak for her, so I'll only speak for myself, but, you know, together we have very similar viewpoints on most issues, but here's the gist of it. On most individual issues, I'm pretty darn progressive. I am not a diehard right-wing conservative person in the sense of where I line up on individual issues. However, when taken as a totality and the direction that this country has gone, it is very, very, very abundantly clear to me that the way the progressive movement has gone is not anything that I can identify with. And what's happened in the aftermath of Charlie Kirk's death is about as prime example of it as I could possibly lay out. To champion his death and to be excited about it is disgusting and unforgivable, in my opinion. It doesn't mean that you can't move past it. It doesn't mean that you can't build bridges and mend them, because everybody's viewpoints can change. But when you think about what is called the quote-unquote woke mind virus, that, in my opinion, that is the reason why I am pushing further and further and further away from what is viewed now as liberalism, even though I view myself as a liberal. Because in a lot of the individual issues, I have very liberal perspectives on things. But I can't classify myself as a liberal because of the different direction that they've taken. Censorship, mandates, vaccine mandates for, things that are not necessarily fully tested and approved and all kinds of shit. I won't go down that whole thing. The idea of mandating stuff on people, okay? The idea that you want to censor free speech and tell people what they are allowed to say, how they're allowed to conduct themselves. Those are the types of things that just drive me the wrong way, because they are not American values. They are the values of communism and dictatorship. And that is not what America is founded upon. And getting excited and happy that someone who disagrees with that movement is dead is disgusting. You were literally excited that someone died. And I'm not talking to all progressives, because of course they're not. Of course not. I will give a lot of credit to President Obama. I saw him make a tweet on X where he said he strongly condoned the violence and that it has no place. I have seen a lot of progressives that have condemned it, which is great. I would say the exact same thing if a very progressive speaker was assassinated in public who repeatedly stated they never want violence, that they're there just giving their opinion on things. I would never want someone with opposite viewpoints of me to just be assassinated for simply existing. So the fact that so many people is the reason why so many people like me are moving away from liberalism, are completely unable to go along with what the modern left wing is doing. It's not because so many people are just becoming conservative. It's because they're seeing this stuff and saying, this is lunacy. And if this is what you are pushing, I'm going to go over here with those guys, because they're clearly not doing that crap. So here's the funny thing. The irony of this whole issue is that by celebrating the death of someone you oppose, you are taking people who are centrists, libertarians, indifferent, and people who are left of center and pushing them away from your own cause. So it's self-defeating to your own end, in addition to the fact that it's morally reprehensible. It is disgusting. There are so many reasons, even self-interest reasons, why being excited about Charlie being assassinated is wrong and gross. Because the more and more that people like me see that, the more and more people are being driven away from progressivism. It is just that simple. It is just that simple.
And it makes the world and America a scary place. I mean, if that's what happens to people who speak their mind and who speak their opinions proudly and pretty intelligently, and that's what we're doing to people now, like, it just makes no sense. And how does that make anybody want to go out and educate people or speak their truth? Right? That's a big thing that people are saying, speak your truth. How are you going to want to go out and do that? I mean, this in itself is like putting ourselves on the line, Yeah. Probably going to piss off a few people.
Not only piss off, one of the reasons why I haven't deliberately talked about politics that much is because, like, as a comedian and I perform at colleges and military bases, I primarily don't do just ticketed shows. Like, the way that I make my living, the shows that I do are working with colleges and military bases. And so I deliberately try to explicitly state these are my viewpoints. But the reason I'm willing to do it right here and right now is because this goes beyond politics. This is about morality, right? And if I lose work because I state something obvious, you shouldn't celebrate the assassination of a political opponent. If that causes me to lose work, fine. Because at the end of the day, I don't want to be associated with someone who can't handle as fundamentally basic of a truth as that. And that goes on both sides of the aisle. I would say the exact same things if one of the world's leading progressives was assassinated. I would say the exact same. If Bernie Sanders was assassinated and people on the right were jumping up and down and all excited and doing TikTok videos, dancing and saying it's a good thing he's dead and I'm happy he's dead, I would be just as disgusted with people on the right wing as I am right now with people on the left that Charlie is dead. And so if losing work because I say that you shouldn't be happy about assassinating a political pundit, a political speaker, then that's the way it's got to be. Because if I can't say that truth, regardless of what side of the political aisle they're on, then I guess I don't deserve to get work anyway. If that's going to prevent me from getting work, then I guess fundamentally the system is broken anyway.
Or a public figure in general. Like, what if it's just someone that you don't like Lizzo? Let's just say Lizzo got assassinated or, shot. And there are probably people who really, really don't like her. And there are people who love her.
Yeah.
It would be disgusting if anybody's out there celebrating.
It would be gross.
For what reason? What did she do to deserve it?
Yeah.
Just that you don't like her? You don't like what she stands for?
Exactly. And that's a really good example because you hear me say all the time, I can't stand Lizzo. I cannot stand Lizzo. I would never in a million years be excited and jumping for joy and make social media posts that I'm happy she's dead. That is disgusting. And here's the thing that matters, folks. Here's what matters a lot. If you are happy, right? Let's say you are an extremely left-leaning woke person who's happy and jumping for joy that Charlie's assassinated. Okay? How do you think the mindset of your political leaders is going to be when they do public speaking events at a college campus open to discussion? This is the reason why it's so stupid and it's so bad. You're not thinking about the long run. You're thinking about one isolated step. I didn't like Charlie Kirk. He's dead. That's great. Well, guess what? Now when your political speakers want to go around and go to college campuses, do you think they're going to be willing to do it? Are they going to be willing to have civil dialogue? And now we're going to live in a state of fear where people are either afraid of getting assassinated or afraid of speaking their mind. This is so bad for our country in so many ways. This is so egregiously wrong. So egregiously wrong. And here's the other thing that matters. There's a lot of people that are talking about what are the possibilities of who the shooter was. Okay? Right now, there's a lot of things going on where people are talking about a correlation between people who are identifying as trans and mass shootings. If that shooter happens to be trans, and you have right-wing people that have already been thinking there's going to be some sort of connection here, and then a trans person assassinates Charlie Kirk, kills him because of words that he spoke while simultaneously always reiterating, I do not believe in support violence. How does that make people on the right and in the center feel? Think about it, folks. Think about it. And it doesn't even matter if it was a trans person, if it was a black person, if it was a Hispanic immigrant, if it was any of the groups that the left believes, right, that Charlie was discriminating against. Women, for example, LGBT people, it doesn't matter. If it's anyone that did it that is a part of a demographic that the left believes is oppressed, that Charlie was trying to suppress somehow, okay, what is that going to do? You're going to send a message to the world, right, that whatever that demographic is willing to kill their opponent for speaking words. And how is that going to not only have a ripple effect throughout the nation and just like a societal level, how is it going to have a ripple effect politically? Think about it, folks. A lot of people don't really follow politics that closely. They just kind of vote with their gut in a last-second thing. They don't really follow the news that much. They just kind of go with the general gist of what they've heard.
Or they go with whatever social media content is being fed to them.
Yep.
I mean, you get fed whatever you watch. The algorithm works that way. Whatever you watch and whatever you consume, you're going to get more and more and more and more of it.
Yep. So what's going to happen if there's an actual bigot, a right-wing person, or a mostly uninformed or someone who's willing to be swayed centrist hears that the person who shot Charlie Kirk is of a demographic that he spoke out against or spoke about in a way that they didn't like? How is that going to shape people's thinking? That person was so offended that they thought Charlie Kirk should die and be shot in the neck with a bullet. What is that going to do politically and culturally? The way that people view things. Here's the thing that I've said for a long time. I've said this a lot, all right? And I'm going to say it here on air. The problem with woke ideology is that it is either the monster it's trying to destroy or it creates the monster it's trying to destroy. That's the problem. There's a million examples that I could give, but I'm going to relate it just to this specific one. You claim, right? You claim that America is racist, sexist, misogynistic, bigoted in all these capacities, right? And then you constantly keep cramming things down people's throat. What do you think will create bigotry? Okay? Here's a prime example. If someone is indifferent and they don't really follow that much and they don't hear that much, and then the first thing or one of the biggest things they hear in the news is that one of those demographics that they're not really keen on, they're not a full-blown bigot, but they're just not so keen on something. Either maybe they're slightly ignorant about race, like maybe kind of sort of a little bit racist, maybe kind of sort of a little bit homophobic, and then they find out that the shooter is of those two demographics. Do you think that that's going to make them move in a direction of being progressive, or do you think it's going to push them the completely opposite way and solidify them in it?
Yeah, do you think that makes a good point?
It makes the opposite point. Charlie Kirk, you may hate him, but he always said no violence, no violence. And then you kill him for his speech because you say that what he said was bigoted, so he has a right, so he deserves to die. What do you think that's going to do in the minds of people who are slightly ignorant? You are going to give them all the evidence that they've ever needed to actually make them full-blown bigots, and it is going to create the monster that you say that you're trying to destroy. The more that you try to cram these messages down people's throat and try to force them to be exposed to stuff over and over and over when all they're trying to do is live, and then they see violent action being taken based on political charge, that's going to create the bigotry you say that you want to stop in this country. It infuriates me. Even from a self-interest perspective, it is so stupid.
And if you really didn't want to hear him, I mean, for whoever is celebrating this and whatever, I mean, there was a video of a guy waving his arms in the air, celebrating at the scene.
Yep.
If that is really the case, why are you there in the first place? Why are you there watching him? If you can't stand him and you don't want to hear what he has to say, why are you there?
There are so many people that that's an excellent point. There are so many people that you and I disagree with politically, but you know all we do? The beauty of this thing is you can just go like this. You can just flip the screen. Yep. And then that person goes away forever.
And again, you get fed content based on what you watch.
Yeah.
So the irony behind most everybody knowing who Charlie Kirk is because of social media and because they have seen him on social media and because they have watched his debates on social media.
Yeah.
Whether it's a clip or a whole thing or whatever it is that you're watching, whether you're following him, whatever it is. I've seen a million people repost his stuff, whether it's good or bad, you know. On either side, I've seen people repost Charlie Kirk's posts. And why is that? Because it's entertaining content. And you feel like it either proves your point or it proves the other point, right? So you're consuming it and you just, why would you want to silence him? It seems like the total opposite of what needed to be done.
You know what needs to be done if you disagree with someone's political views? You go like this, and then they disappear forever and you never see them again. It is so easy to avoid the thoughts that you don't want to hear, the speech you don't like. You don't have to kill someone in order to stop their speech in your mind. All you have to do is hit block, and then you will never see their content ever again. And if you're on TikTok, you hit swipe up a few times on conservative viewpoints, and then you won't see them anymore.
And you get a picture of a puppy running, or a video of a puppy running around, and you watch it. And you will continue to get videos of puppies running around, and you will not get Charlie Kirk videos.
And then the world can continue to spin. And if you think that it makes any sense whatsoever that a man should die instead of you just not listening to his viewpoints, then you are wrong. And guess what? Here's the thing that really matters. Why was Charlie Kirk assassinated? He wasn't assassinated because he was just Joe Blow on the street with a megaphone that was being crazy. We've all seen those guys. They don't ever get assassinated. Why was Charlie Kirk assassinated? Because there was a lot of people who supported what he thought, who believed in what he said, who started to wake up and change their viewpoints. And guess what? When you look at the video of him being assassinated, there was so many people in that field listening to him and yelling for him and all excited to see him. So do you really think that by assassinating Charlie Kirk, his movement stops? His ideas stop? All you're going to do is spread his content like wildfire. And now there's going to be 3 Charlie Kirks that pop up because a lot of people are going to be more passion driven. Like I feel right now. I feel a hell of a lot more passion about speaking politically than I ever have because of what just happened today. I'm not saying I'm going to be Charlie Kirk. I don't want to be. But the point is that people that I try to be a comedian who talks about politics. I'm not a political comedian. But this type of shit is the type of thing that takes people like me and makes them want to go out and keep pushing to stop this type of shit. Those people that were in that crowd, hundreds, if not thousands of people and it wasn't even like Utah, the University of Utah. It was like Utah Valley State. Like it was like a second-tier school, and it was flooded with people to see him. There are so many people all over the country that wanted to hear his voice, and now that you silenced it, do you think that the voice stops? His clips are going to be spread like wildfire, and more people are going to be inspired to take the mantle now that he's gone.
Yeah, it's like you want to silence him, and then now it's probably the most talked about thing on the internet right now.
And it proved his point in every single way. In every single way, all this did was cause a detriment to the progressive movement in every single facet.
And also proved how divided this country is.
Yeah.
And the sad part is, you know, when you say it's un-American to celebrate the death of Charlie Kirk, I feel like the people who are celebrating are the same people who hate America.
That's a very good point.
Openly.
That say America is an oppressive, evil, terrible, awful place. And it's disgusting. It's straight up disgusting.
Who won't have an American flag up, but will have whatever other flag they want.
I want to be very clear about something. It makes me sick to my stomach that the American flag has become a political statement. That if you see someone flying an American flag, you know automatically they can't be progressive. Not always. I'm not saying that all liberals don't support the American flag. But when you see the American flag and someone flying it or someone driving a truck with an American flag, 19 out of 20 times you can associate that person and say with strong conviction that's either a conservative or a diehard pro-America libertarian or a centrist. That's not a progressive. That's not a liberal. That's not a Democrat. I think even a
liberal can agree with that statement.
It's sad. It's sick. It shouldn't be. The American flag should not be a divisive political flag that is only championed by conservatives. It should be loved by everyone. No matter how liberal or conservative you may be, we should all agree the American flag should be loved and cherished by everyone. America has its issues, but guess what, motherfuckers? America has progressed and saved the planet. You can look back at the mistakes that America made. Well, guess what? Those mistakes were made throughout the world, and America was one of the first places that tried correcting them. Of course, those things are bad, but those things exist today, right now in 2025, all over the world. America saved the world from dictatorship between the Empire of Japan and Nazi Germany in World War II. America was the birthplace, the cradle of the idea of freedom of speech. And not only that, the capitalist economy that created almost all of this tech, all of the innovations, all of this shit. We are sitting right here, right now, and anybody listening to this in the United States of America as the most prosperous, free people in the history of human existence. And the fact that the progressive left has decided that America is a terrible, awful, evil place, and yet, ironically enough, refuses to leave it is disgusting. You can be mad at America. You can look at the flaws. You can look at the things that are mistakes. You can even hate Donald Trump for all you want and say the political stances he has are wrong. I'm fine with all of that. But the moment that you take it a step further and say that America is terrible and awful and disgusting and evil and backwards and shouldn't exist, you make me sick. Because your ancestors would be disgusted for this reason. America is the most free and prosperous place on the planet Earth, and our ancestors made so many sacrifices to get us to this point. I get paid money to tell jokes to crowds of people and travel. I am so unbelievably fucking lucky. And if I were to have the gall to have the perspective that America is a terrible, awful place, I would be insulting my ancestors that came over from Ireland, that came over from a few other countries in Europe and worked their ass off with nothing and sacrificed in factories and on farms so that their kids eventually could go to college, so that I could end up in a middle-class situation with my family that would allow me to branch out and pursue my dreams of comedy and live free. For me to turn around and say America is terrible and awful is disgusting and an insult. And the fact that the American flag and American ideology is looked at as backwards and wrong is sick.
It's just people taking it too far. I mean, just like the Charlie Kirk thing, right? It's like you can oppose viewpoints of Donald Trump. Why does that make you hate America, the country that you live in, that gives you the freedoms that you have? Why does Charlie Kirk's opposing viewpoints make it okay to be like, oh, yeah, well, he deserved it?
That's disgusting. And I want to be very, very clear about something else. This isn't all of the people who believe in this ideology, but the people who are celebrating it are the same ones who believe in what I'm about to talk about. I made this in a social media video, but I want to make it very clear here as well, and that is this. The idea of diversity, acceptance, and inclusion. Okay? Who are the people that champion that? The very progressive left. Right? I guarantee you almost all, if you asked any of the people who is celebrating right now that Charlie Kirk was assassinated, what is your stance on diversity, acceptance, and inclusion? They would all tell you, I love those ideas. I love them. We need to implement it in everything. Well, here's the thing, folks. Those people who are celebrating Charlie Kirk's death right now do not believe in diversity whatsoever, because diversity is not just your skin tone. Diversity includes different perspectives of life, different backgrounds, different viewpoints. And if you believe that someone who has a different viewpoint than you should be assassinated, you are a hypocrite and do not believe in diversity. If you think that someone should be killed, shot in the neck, and have their blood sprayed out on the goddamn grass in front of college students, if you get excited about that, you do not in any way whatsoever believe in acceptance, because you want someone killed for speaking thoughts that you don't agree with. You are a hypocrite. And if you think that someone should be killed because they have different viewpoints than you, you don't want inclusion. You don't want to include people that are different than you. What you want to do is create a little bubble where everyone agrees with everything you say and does everything you do and thinks exactly like you do and never says anything that can offend you. And you think you can create that utopia. Well, guess what? Those are the same exact thought patterns that the communists create when they strip away freedom of speech and try to suppress the people and tell them what they can and cannot do. Guess where that exists? Communist dictatorships like the Soviet Union and China and North Korea. Try going to North Korea and see what they say about freedom of speech. They'll tell you you're not allowed to say things that we view are offensive because you'll go to jail. Not just you, your parents and your grandparents. Your whole family will go to jail. 3 generations get punished for speaking the wrong words because it is offensive and hurts people's feelings. And it is a threat to the country's power. The utopia you want to create by saying you want to live in a society where people can't say things that you disagree with or think differently than you either does not exist, or the closest thing to it is a place like North Korea, where people are starving to death and they go to jail for multiple generations. Your grandmother goes to jail for words that you spoke. Think about that for a minute. You don't know the game that you're playing when it comes to trying to go down the line because you're ignorant of history and world affairs. Period. Period. The world is a really terrible, awful place, and America is a beacon of light within that darkness. And to try to turn around and say America is terrible and awful because of past things that happened, you were wrong. The world is really, really messed up, and most of the countries are beyond comprehension for people who have never stepped foot outside of the country that they claim to despise. When you try to create a utopia where people only say what you agree with, you lead to things like communism and dictatorship and the very fascism that you claim to hate, which you don't even know the definition of. All those diversity, equity, and inclusion people, acceptance people, they claim that Charlie Kirk was a fascist. I guarantee you most of them couldn't even define what fascism is. They don't even know. Fascists,
Why don't you tell everybody?
fascists love the idea of suppression of freedoms. They love it, okay? Charlie Kirk wanted freedom of speech. He invited the whole thing that he did that made him famous. He went to public spaces and he invited people who disagreed with him to come up and take a massive platform, have a microphone, and be able to speak your truth to the world. He did that. He did that. That was what he did. That's what made him famous. He wanted people who disagreed with him to have civil dialogue with him. Fascists want to suppress differing viewpoints. They want a dictator in control over everything, and you have to fall in line and be submissive to the state. There are very few differences between actual fascism and communism, and the people who say that they want to destroy fascists and claim that people who are right-wing and conservative are fascists don't even know what fascism actually is. Don't even know. And they don't even realize that they're perpetuating the ideas that fascists want to do. Fascists want to use violence to suppress dissension. Do you realize that, people? Fascists want to suppress dissent by using violence. And that's literally, definitionally, what that assassin did. They suppressed dissent from their movement by using violence. The people who claim they want to stop fascism are acting like the goddamn fascists. What are we talking about? This shit infuriates me because it is so insanely stupid, both morally and from the very progressives who claim they want to change society to stop oppression. But you want to use oppression in order to get there. Do you not see the fallacy in what you are doing and believing? And my God, if you think America is a terrible, awful place, read a freaking book. Go on Wikipedia. Travel to North Korea and Iran. Travel to Cuba, goddammit. Travel to Venezuela right now, where people can't say what they want, where they can't afford to live, and they can't eat food. And you're sitting there watching this on a smartphone in your apartment or your house with a roof over your head and food in your belly and the freedom to tell me that I'm an idiot. And the police will defend your right to do so. You have no idea how lucky you are and how beautiful this country is. And God bless our ancestors that laid the groundwork, that let people like us have the lifestyle we do. That throughout all of history, human history is like 200,000 years old. Okay? Modern humans are like it's like 200,000 and 100,000 years old. People were starving to death and dying at 35 and had their teeth rotten out. And if they got a little cut on their finger, they would die. And then they would have to go to war and die. And their children would die. They didn't have food. They didn't have shelter. They didn't have shit. Human existence has been awful and terrible for almost all of it. And this is the best it has ever been, the most free it has ever been. And not only that, within all of that realm, we are in the country that is the innovator, the driver, the beacon of light. And so many people out there want to curse it and shit on it. You're shitting on your ancestors. The sacrifices they made, the things that they had to go through to get you to this point. And you have the gall to waste it away and say it's nothing but terrible and awful to play victim and savior at the same time. What the hell is wrong with you people? What is wrong with you people? And all you did by killing Charlie Kirk is solidify his supporters that his beliefs were right. And you also invigorated people like me to speak out about this shit when they've stayed silent. You are hurting your own cause, and you are a disgrace to your ancestors. And I'm not saying this because I'm believing that you can't be progressive. You can be progressive. Be as progressive as you want. But for the love of God, be progressive in the actual definition of it. Actual progressives believe in the idea that there can be dissent of opinion, there can be civil dialogue, that you can accept people, not just based on their race and their gender ideology, but based on their thought patterns. If you want acceptance, diversity, and inclusion, how about you start accepting, including, and enjoy the diversity of thought in this country? That's the end of my rant.
Well, I can't top that. You pretty much covered everything.
Don't try to top it. I want to hear your opinion on it. I want to hear what you think. What are your thoughts? Just because I have thoughts doesn't mean I'm right. I'm just pissed off. And not
that
only
was a good rant.
Thank you. It's probably going to prevent me from getting bookings for the rest of my life. It's probably going to prevent me from being able to
considering
work.
we have about 100 subscribers, I doubt this will go viral. Hey, maybe that rant will.
I don't know. And here's the other thing. I want to say one more thing. The fact that we live in a society where I'm afraid and other people are afraid to voice such obvious truths because they're afraid it's going to cost them their job, that is what fascists did. The left claims they want to stop fascism, but they want to do everything that fascists do, which is suppress dissent, scare people, and kill people who they disagree with. And I'm not saying that everyone on the left wants those things. Of course not. That's not my point. That's not what I'm saying. I'm talking about the way that this direction is going. It shouldn't be that me saying what I just said could prevent me from getting work. Because did you hear me say one thing that's conservative? And even if I did, why should that even stop it? If I came out and just straight up said, I'm a Bible-thumping Christian, I want you to have 20 kids, you stay at home, I go to work at the factory, and we're going to just get back to the good old days of America, and we're going to go to church every Sunday and go to, Bible study every Wednesday. Even if I said that, that shouldn't stop me from getting work. But I didn't do any of that. I didn't say anything that was conservative. All I said was the woke mind virus doing things like violence and suppression is bad. Hating America is bad.
Well, I think we talked about that last episode about people not being able to get work in Hollywood if you have right-leaning views.
Yep. You just proved my point. Proved your own point. Because as I said those words, I was thinking to myself, maybe this shoots me in the foot for the rest of my life. I don't know. And it shouldn't be that way because nothing I said was conservative. All it was the obvious truth about what the extreme left is doing.
It's just a truth about humanity in itself.
Yes.
That's it.
Yes. So with that being said, Kirsten, if you would not like to continue or expand on that.
Do you want my hot take?
I do want your hot take, and I want it to be extra hot because, God damn it.
My hot take is not extra hot. My hot take is just that there needs to be more peace and love again in the world. I mean, I don't know. Maybe again is the wrong word. But people came to America to begin with for the freedoms that are here and the country that it is. That's why it's the land of all these immigrants, right? You take a DNA test. It doesn't say you're American unless it says you're Native American. But people came here from all over the world, including our ancestors, because this is a great country. America should be in leading the charge for peace and for love and for everything that it stood for and stands for freedom, for everyone to be able to live the life how they want to live it, and to go on about their day. If you want to work in a factory, go and work in a factory. If you want to be a comedian, be a comedian. If you want to be a politician, be a politician. But why should any of that dictate how we treat each other? Why can't we just live and let live?
I want to say one final thing because that was an excellent point. Live and let live. If you demand that the right wing live and let live, whether you're LGBT, trans, black, an immigrant, a woman, whatever, you want them to let you live. How about you let them live too? If you want them to accept you for your gender ideology, how about you accept them for being diehard Christians who just disagree with your beliefs? And both should be able to coexist and be happy and smile at each other and wave at each other in the streets and say, how's it going? Hope you have a great day. God bless America.
And if you want to get vaccinated to protect yourself, go and get vaccinated. But don't be mad at me if I don't want to.
There it is.
I'm not hurting you.
Live and let live. Love and let love. And that is a two-way street, not just one. Not just one.
Yep.
You want them to accept you, you need to accept them too. I want to say, Kirsten, thank you so much for doing this with me. And I want to say, God bless America. God bless our troops. And rest in peace, Charlie Kirk. I hope we can get to a better place soon. And I'm incredibly grateful that I live in this country. God bless America, and I hope you have a wonderful night, everybody.
And thank you for listening. Peace. Hopefully.